right? Yeah, I needed to cool off. Hey! What? I didn't say you could do that.
Let's look at what went wrong here. Jane splashed Amber, but didn't ask whether it was okay. This makes it not okay. Does anyone know what's missing from this equation here? Yes?
It's not an equation, and why are you wearing a lab coat?
Never mind that. What's missing here is consent. Does anyone know what consent is?
Yeah, it's the form you fill out when you take a picture and they want to use it, right?
Right. Yes. Well, consent is an agreement to participate in something. Sometimes that's having your photograph taken or being treated medically. Other times it's physical acts involving bodies, like giving someone a hug. You should always ask.
Why do you have to ask before you give someone a hug?
Do you always want someone to hug you?
I guess not.
So you don't always have to hug people. And they don't have to hug you.
Cool.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because your body is yours. Always remember ask. Active and affirmative consent, sexual and bodily autonomy, knowing, respecting, and communicating your wants and needs and those of others.
That's a mouthful.
It's a lot because it's important. Now let's see what Jane could have done differently.
The water's great, right? Yeah, I needed to cool off. Can I splash you? Only if I can splash you back. Sure, that's fair.
But that's not the only way it could have happened.
The water's great, right? Yeah, I needed to cool off. Can I splash you? No, I'd rather you didn't. Okay, that's fine.
Also, just because Amber said it was okay to splash her one time doesn't mean it's okay to splash her another. Or dunk her. Maybe she's got contact lenses or a new hair dye or literally any other reason she doesn't have to tell you or no reason at all. Active consent means consent at every time and at every level.
So I understand all of this, but what I don't understand is why do you have to ask every time you hug someone? No one even does that.
First of all, the no one does that is problematic. Things don't need to stay the same just because they are the way they are. That's called an appeal to tradition, and it's not proper logic. Second, there does exist something called nonverbal consent. It's not as clear as verbal consent, but sometimes it's easier or even the only way to communicate. Can I get a couple of volunteers?
There's no one else here.
What are you talking about? Sure, we'll volunteer.
Perfect. You.
I have a name, you know. It's Arthur.
Oh, good. Arthur, put your arms out. I mean, if you want to. It's up to you.
Like this?
No, like a ballerina.
Oh, so like this.
No, like a hug.
Oh, I get it.
Good. Now, if Alex puts her arms out too, then she wants a hug and you can hug her. If she doesn't, then leave her alone. Good. You just used nonverbal consent. Sometimes, like I said earlier, there's nothing else available. For example, babies or animals can communicate that they do or do not want something even though they don't have the use of words.
Hi, Teddy. You're a good boy. Yes, you are. You're such a good boy.
Guess you don't want to be picked up. That's okay. Teddy can tell me what he wants by wagging his tail or growling. Even though he's a dog, my respect for his wishes affects our relationship and his happiness. Sometimes, though, consent is impossible.
So what do you do then?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
When is consent impossible?
When someone is asleep, unconscious, intoxicated, or too young to understand the action, you can't do anything to them that requires consent because you can't attain consent.
So you can't hug a baby?
This might be stretching the hug analogy. You know a lot of this is a metaphor, right?
A metaphor for what?
Sex! It's a part of human life, kids, and consent is the most important aspect of it. Sex or sexual actions without consent is rape or sexual assault, which is never okay. It's not only illegal, but it's a violation of someone's rights over their own body. Consent, bodily autonomy, and respect are always important, but in certain cases, such as those involving sexual anything, it's more than important. It's everything.
So do we really need consent for hugs?
Yes. It's not just sex. People get final say over their own bodies, no matter what the capacity.
So you're saying I don't need to kiss my relatives on the cheek just because they want me to?
Nope, absolutely not. You're in charge of what you do. You get to figure out whether you want to do something, then do what you want, as long as it doesn't violate someone else's rights or autonomy.
So I don't have to go to school?
Well, for a while you do have to. It's the law. And then after that, it's just a good idea. Sometimes adults get to be in charge of things children just don't understand. And that's why you can hug or feed or move a baby if you know that's what it needs.
But I don't have to do everything that's expected of me.
Let's look at that.
I'm getting hot wings.
Me too. Let's all get the hottest wings.
I hate spicy food. It makes me so sick.
Sure, we can all get wings.
Yeah.
What just happened?
Natasha ordered wings.
But she didn't want to.
Yep, that's called peer pressure.
Gross.
Yeah, it's gross that things still happen that way.
It's gross that we're still talking about peer pressure. We've heard enough about that.
Really?
Yeah, you're not supposed to do things just because everyone wants you to do them. It's whatever.
Well, that's quite a blanket statement. Sometimes your wants and needs do coincide with everyone else's. That's fine. Other times they don't. In that case, you need to weigh out which is more important to you and what consequences you're willing to face. And when you're not aware of your own wants and needs, that's a good time to ask yourself.
So Natasha shouldn't have eaten those wings.
No, because not eating the wings was a need for her, and having her eat the wings was a want for everyone else. And needs always get priority over wants.
What if they'd stop being friends with her? Doesn't she need to eat the wings then?
No. That's called hazing, and it's another type of violation of consent. You see, when someone is forced to do something they don't want to do in order to become part of a group, that disrespects and disregards that person's autonomy.
But no one knew Natasha didn't want to eat the wings.
Right. That's why sometimes it's important to speak up so there's no confusion. Alternatively, her friends could have asked her if she was sure and been more receptive to her needs.
I'm getting hot wings.
Me too. Let's all get the hottest wings.
Natasha, are you in?
I'll get mild. It's all I can handle.
Hey y'all.
Hey, Val.
Nat, can I talk to you for a second?
Sure.
I don't like those girls.
What?
Jane and Amber. I bet they tried to get you to order hot wings, didn't they?
Well, yeah.
You are not allowed to hang out with them anymore.
Stop right there. This is not okay. Can anyone tell me why?
Because you told her what to do.
Precisely. You can't control someone in a romantic relationship. It's unsafe, unhealthy, and once again, disrespectful of that person's autonomy. You're supposed to be equals. That goes for friendships, too.
But wait, does that mean you can't tell me what to do?
Teachers, parents, doctors, and other authority figures fall into their own special category. Their job is to tell you what to do. And so true consent is impossible. That's why a doctor and a patient can't be in a romantic relationship.
But Phil was just looking out for her. He just didn't want Natasha hanging around people who made her eat hot wings.
And there were better ways he could have expressed his concern.
How?
Well, let's see.
I don't like those girls.
What?
Did they try to get you to eat hot wings again?
Well, yeah.
I'm just worried that they don't have your best interests in mind. But of course, it's up to you who you hang out with.
Thanks for telling me how you feel.
See, instead of trying to control each other's actions, people in healthy relationships communicate their feelings and respect the autonomy of others and trust their judgment.
I get it, but why is this something that we have to learn about in school? Isn't it just normal to have healthy relationships?
Yeah, won't we just see it happen in real life and do what other people do?
Well, unfortunately not. The norms of society have long included the oppression and dehumanization of lots of people. And the idea of affirmative consent is still fairly new to our legal system. We've both come a long way and have a long way to go.
But abusive relationships are rare nowadays, right?
Actually, according to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have been the victim of intimate partner violence at some point in their life. And that's just including physical abuse.
I mean, that is a lot, but I believe it.
Really?
Yeah, you've never been bullied by someone you thought was your friend?
I haven't, but I think I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a long way to go. Would you two like to learn about some history?
Sure, I guess there's a lot of things I've been taking for granted.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start back in the 18th century.
Really?
Yes, way back in 1707, the German state of the Palatinate became the first place to abolish coverture, or the assumption of wives' legal rights by their husbands.
But what does that have to do with consent?
If you don't have the legal recognition of personhood, then you can't legally protest any lack of consent.
Like slavery, people weren't recognized legally as people.
Yes, exactly. And while the U.S. had slavery, it was still illegal for slaves to refuse sex with their masters.
Whoa.
That's really messed up.
It is. And even when the U.S. abolished slavery in 1865, it was still illegal for wives to refuse sex with their husbands. In fact, marital rape wasn't recognized in all states until... When do you think? Which year?
1890?
1920?
1993.
I was born that year.
Me too.
Marital rape was legal during our lifetime.
Yeah. So, when did this whole affirmative consent thing start?
1991. Antioch College was the first to adopt an affirmative consent policy. And Saturday Night Live made fun of it. People thought asking to kiss someone was silly and unheard of.
But not everybody wants to be kissed.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it took the world a really long time to figure that out and respect it.
What about now? What do we have now?
Now we have 2 states with affirmative consent legislation. California's yes means yes, and New York's enough is enough.
2 states? That's all?
It's a start, and colleges are following suit all over the country. It's up to us to keep things changing.
That's overwhelming, especially now.
Now?
The government?
History's still constantly being written, and the country just elected a president who brags about sexual assault.
Right.
It's up to us to teach people about consent. Remember, ask. Active and affirmative consent, sexual and bodily autonomy, knowing, respecting, and communicating your wants and needs and those of others.
It's still a mouthful, but it is my responsibility.
And mine.
And mine. And yours.